Well, every year it seems to come quicker and quicker. The guys are back today. We do a little run test tomorrow, and then we start practices on Wednesday and Thursday, double sessions, and then we're into it. We look forward to getting the dome back next week so we get in on a full field. If we can, we're going to get outside, but it's great to have Manley Fieldhouse here also when the basketball team's using the Carrier Dome. It's obviously been very exciting to watch them so far this year. They're not even halfway through their season, and we're starting Lacrosse. But very excited for the 2014 season. Very much looking forward to playing in the ACC. Some of the opponents we've played in the past, so probably not as big a jump as it is for the football team or the basketball team, because we've played some of the opponents in the ACC in the past. But we're looking forward to that competition. I think the ACC tournament at the end of the year is going to be an important tournament for seedings and for the playoffs. And to travel to play some of these teams in their home stadiums will be exciting for our guys too. And we're certainly looking forward to bring the caliber of these teams into the Carrier Dome for our home fans to see also. And I think we're ranked #1 in our strength of schedule, so that we really don't have too many days off. We're fortunate to be returning some of the players that we're returning, and the experience that we have coming back, along with the experience of making the playoffs and getting into the championship game last year. So again, looking forward to the 2014 season, and open it up for questions.
Questions for Coach Desko?
John, everybody here that should be any eligibility or injury concerns to start off with?
No, I think we're okay for now. There's still some guys that are doing some things academically, but we're in pretty good shape right now.
You mentioned that ACC, all six teams are in the top 10 in preseason polls. I think you kind of knew what it was coming in. You mentioned you played all the time. How does that change now that the conference moments?
I'm not sure. You mean as far as going from the Big East to the ACC, or how's it change?
Yeah, just like you.
Just our
the
approach
change, anything like that?
Not really. I think we've got to do some catching up because we haven't been in the ACC. We don't know what the ACC tournament's been like in the past. It's a difficult tournament with the teams playing the caliber of each other so late in the season. You worry about injuries and so on going into the playoffs, but it should be fun. And it'll be at PPL Park this year in Philadelphia, so we've played there in the past. And it's a kind of a neutral site for everybody in the ACC. 4 hours for us, 4 hours and 15 minutes, and 5 or 6 hours for some of the other schools. Notre Dame always has to fly in, but that will be good. And I think it'll bring more meaning to the teams like Virginia and Duke and Maryland and Carolina, Notre Dame that we've played in the past. So that'll be a little bit different. But again, I think I'm starting to see it watching the basketball team now. I'm getting excited about Carolina coming in, starting that tradition, and I think our fans will make an easy adjustment. And basketball will probably help us in our adjustment as far as the fans watching ACC teams play. But again, like you mentioned, you have 6 of those teams in the top 10 in the country. Very exciting. You look down the road also when you're being considered for the playoffs. They're going to look at strength of schedule, wins and losses in the top 5, top 10, top 15, and so on. And then they're going to look at your RPI. So, one of the things that we have seen in the past with the ACC is not only will they play each other during the year, you have a chance of playing them again in the ACC conference tournament, which now raises your strength of schedule and more. And if if one of the teams is #1 and you're playing that #1 team, you've played them during the year and now you play them again in the ACC tournament. You take the top 10 teams on your schedule. Well, you're going to have 2 #1s on your schedule. That doesn't hurt anything going into the playoffs.
John, when you were on the outside looking in, we all talked about how that worked and how those ACC teams used that tournament, even though they didn't have a number of teams now that you're, I guess,
we're legal now.
You play by the rules. You just do it. Now that you're part of it, it's like, why not get the benefits of it? Is that kind of your approach?
Yeah, well, we experienced that a little bit last year being in the Big East. Notre Dame had the #1 RPI in the country. So here we go at the end of the year. We beat them in the regular season, and we turned around and played them in the Big East tournament. And so it kind of worked for us, but it was a recognized conference with an AQ, so that made it all good to go. And this year we could experience a similar thing.
John, I don't even know if you can mention his name, but Randy Stats, are you guys still expecting to get an OCC transfer in, or?
I don't know if I can comment on that. I don't think I can comment on that till there's a player has matriculated or signed a letter of intent. So I don't think I'm allowed to comment on that. I'd like to, but.
Coach, as far as face-offs are concerned, after last year, you guys struggled in the national championship game. Are you still looking to rely on Chris and Cal to kind of take everything at the X this year?
Yes, at this point, although we still have some evaluating to do, frankly. We worked as hard on face-offs in the fall as we ever have. We may have worked more in the fall than we have in the last 3 years all put together, as far as looking at technique, film, repetitions, working on other things. So I wish that was a little more closed, but it's not. It's still an open position right now.
Who else are you looking at other than Chris and Cal?
There's, we had Austin Wentworth in the fall. I remember his name this time. And there's a number, with DeMarco come in, Bjor. We may even have a couple surprises that we're going to look at coming in mid-year.
Do you have to do anything special with Nicky to keep him healthy, or do you treat him like a normal player with his feet?
He's done a really good job with that. He came back, and after his procedure last spring, came back and did a nice job in the fall. Almost a little surprised. Made our conditioning runs, which that doesn't happen overnight. You've got to work on that. You've got to be in pretty good shape to make that run. And did that, and you could see him just get more and more comfortable as the fall went on. I think by the end of the fall, I didn't see the hesitation that I saw earlier in the fall, and I think he's going to hit the ground running and ready to go. Again, we're going to be doing some of our conditioning, some testing tomorrow, so that will tell us more about a lot of players. But if he comes in good shape, I think he's really going to help us.
Do you treat him like a normal guy, or do you have to kind of be careful?
We've had to do that with players in the past in years where we felt we just had one or two go-to guys, and it's been it's kind of like walking on eggshells. You tend to become a little more hesitant going into practice, and then you're maybe a little more hesitant going into game situations. I think we have pretty good depth in our offensive positions this year. And I don't think we'd be doing him any favors by treating him differently. So he's going to be one of the guys, and we're not going to sit him out for any reason. We're not going to go gingerly with him. We're going to go full out and get him out there and ready to go.
John, where does he fit in? I mean, when he went down, obviously it was huge, and then Donahue steps up and has a breakout kind of year. Kevin Royce really gets comfortable in that position. And of course, then you have some guy who goes long. Is he going to play attack? Is he going to play up top?
Well, we're gonna. We've done both in the fall, and we've got a few weeks to get ready here in the spring. So we're just going to try to mix and match. It might not be him; it might be one of the other guys in the midfield. So our goal is, when we're on offense, to have the best 6 offensive players on the field. And we've got some guys coming back in the midfield that have performed pretty well too. So it's going to be hard to. I think it's going to be hard to scout us as far as different guys coming in at different positions.
John, what's your plan right now for Jordan Evans? How much do you anticipate he can push and get on the field?
He's probably, I could almost repeat that answer that I just gave. We've worked at him in both positions, a lot in the midfield early on in the fall. A lot, as the fall went on, when we felt he was comfortable in the midfield, to get him in that attack position. And it's difficult for these guys to play both positions, attack and midfield. But once they get it, it's difficult at first, but once they get it, once they're comfortable in both, it just makes them better players within the offense, because as an attackman, they know where to look for where the middies could be because they've played that position, and vice versa. When they're on midfield, they've been at the attack position, so they know where the attackmen are supposed to be. And I think it just gives them great awareness on the field as far as working the offense and knowing where everybody is and should be. again, difficult at first, but once you get it, it really helps your game.
Have you talked to them about wearing 22? Is it something he's embraced? Is it even a conversation at all?
Yeah, I talked to him about it probably 3 years ago, and so it, we knew he was going to wear that number coming in, and he's up for the challenge. And he's a very, serious lacrosse player. He puts a lot of time into it, always asking questions and trying to get better. And when he comes off in a scrimmage situation, did I do that right? Should I have done something differently? And I think he's going to be a good one.
Brandon Mullins.
Good to go.
He's good. He's ready.
Yeah, he's released, full release. He's probably in early December.
When you look at him, I still remember that injury. At that point, I remember thinking he was on the verge. The last couple of games before that injury, it might be the kind of dominant, athletic, kind of long stick, midi, close defender that everybody thought he could be.
I agree.
And that happens. I think it was his first injury. How has he bounced back? Where does he fit in your plans?
Yeah, well, when it first happened, it was almost sickening because I think he was really hitting his stride. Being from Texas, good ability-wise, pretty good skill-wise, but hadn't had a lot of schemes thrown at him as far as defensive packages with zones and crease slides or adjacent slides and so on. So he was just starting to come into his own. Was already a very good one-on-one defender, and so it was really disappointing when he went down. At that point, if somebody said we were going to be in the championship game in 2013, I might have disagreed with players like that going, Nicky. But he unfortunately didn't have the fall. But no one works harder than him. Whenever he's had an injury, because of his work ethic, he's not afraid of pain. He's not afraid of putting the extra time in. And he came back earlier than he was supposed to. And we expected that. A lot of guys, I'm not so sure you come back when you're supposed to. So he came back early, and he's had all this time off here in between semesters to go home and work on it, work on his conditioning, his movement. I'm sure he's found somebody to do some one-on-ones with. And so we're hoping he's going to come back and hit the ground running. And if he has lost anything there, he's going to pick it up pretty quickly once he gets back.
Is he a guy that switches back and forth, or are you going to stick with close this year?
He could. I would say you're going to see him more on close than the long stick. Probably, I think that may be our strongest position this year, believe it or not, is the long stick. We have 4 guys that can play there, and with McCartney and Harris. Harris, they both did a great job last year. Peter's come back, and he's playing better than he did last year. He's playing his best lacrosse so far. Him, another one coming from a different area where defensive packages were probably fewer in between in a lot of places. So he came in and he's gotten much better at it. Great fall. Furman from JD. Everybody talks about Evans. I believe he is every bit of defenseman as Evans is. Attackman or a midfielder has done a tremendous job. And then Nico Manning came in from OCC and had a great fall also. So I'm comfortable putting any 4 of those guys on the field. And again, that may be our deepest position.
John, if there's an area or two that you're feeling out through the first couple weeks of practice and maybe even the first couple games, what are kind of the question marks that you want to see how everything fits together?
Every year, last year maybe more so than some years because we had so many newer players getting game experience. But every year you're tweaking things. No matter how many guys you have back or you think they're in a certain spot, you're always changing things and you're learning more about your team. So I think that's just a natural process. Opponents will, they're going to scout you, and the more games you've played, the more weaknesses they think they're going to find, they're going to try to expose, and we recognize that, so we see what they're picking on, and we try to improve it ourselves. Obviously, the face-off, being at whatever we were 42% last year, whatever it was. I think we want to get we want to get better there, and we want to figure out who our people are there as quickly as we can.
Coach, Dom took the job at the goalie position last year from Bobby, but you said Bobby would be a good goalie here for years to come. So what's the competition like going into the spring?
it was quietly very competitive. Don did a very good job, and